Hi, my name is Will Ferguson. I'm the Services and Implementations Manager in Australia. Today I'm going to be talking to you about MYOB Acumatica, how you can prepare your data ready for Phocas. I'll give you a demo of the get data process. I'll show you around the sales database and then show you how you can do some customization of the standard template and hopefully get you up and running within a few minutes. First of all, we need to prepare your data for Phocas. To do that, we're going to need some files, a handful of files, and these are called generic inquiry files. Phocas will supply you with these. You should see your account manager to get access to those. Next, we're going to import these files into MYOB, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll expose those queries via OData. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is log into MYOB. Now, I'm using our demo MYOB system, which has some test data already populated. First thing, click on the System tab at the top and then Customization. And here you'll find the generic inquiry screen. All right, next thing is to click on this little clipboard icon and import from XML. We're going to be looking for a file that is created by Phocas. It's an XML file, and we'll give you, we'll make available a bundle of files that contain all the queries needed that save you doing a lot of work. So let's just go and choose one of these files. For example, PH custom. You'll notice all these generic inquiries start with PH, so they're easy to find inside your system. So we'll select on that one and select open and then upload. So it's uploading that file. It doesn't take very long. And there we have it. Repeat that for all the files that are needed for your sales database. So what you want to do is make sure that this expose via OData checkbox is selected. This just enables Phocas to connect to these queries. So you want to do that for all those generic inquiries that start with PH. A little tip: if you do a search and search for PH dash, you'll find all the generic inquiries that are in your system that service that you'll need for Phocas, and it tells you there whether OData is enabled. Great. Now, if you wanted to have a look at what, for example, in the customer generic inquiry, what sort of fields we're returning, these are the fields that we're returning. If you want to see the actual data, click on View Inquiry. And here you can see a list of customers. It's like a customer master file. Okay, very, very simple, and you can have that done within a few minutes. Next step is actually getting the data into Phocas.
Okay, now that you've prepared your data inside MYOB, I'm going to show you how we configure that API call to pull the data from your system, how we schedule that, how we stage your data, and I'm going to build a sales database. Okay, so here we are in Phocas, and I'm going to show you some of the back end on how we configure the API call. We have a custom action here, which is written in C#. I won't go into the detail behind this, but suffice it to say, there's a lot of work that's gone into that. Simply, we need some parameters. The most important ones, the URL that we're attaching to, and that's your MYOB website URL, a password and a username. Importantly, we need a logon account which has the necessary rights to be able to pull that data from your MYOB. So they're the three things we need: the URL, the username, and the password. Let's just run that code and see what it does. So while that code is running, we can see two sync sources. One is raw and the other one is a staged sync source. We can see those two sources are currently syncing. The raw data is coming in and then purging and replacing into the staged database. We use a purge to and replace to handle transactional data. So we don't get all your transactional history every time we do a sync. We just get a rolling, say 7 days or 30 days. We get a rolling day period of transactional data, and then we purge and replace. That's what this raw and staging is all about. This API call itself is scheduled, and we can schedule that to run once a day in whatever time zone that we wish to use, and pick a time. This serves most people's purposes, although you can do it more often, hourly, or less often, weekly and monthly. Now, once the sync completes, a database is triggered to build, and I'll show you that now. Okay, here's our sales database, and I'm just going to show you how we trigger that to build. I'm going to say for our sales database is to start building once it's completed loading up all those sources. A little bit technical, but just showing you what happens in the background. Let's have a quick look at the design of the sales database. Here we're seeing the design surface, and this is where we map those sync sources onto the design surface. So we've seen each of these correlate to one of those PH generic inquiries. So for example, customer here is mapped to the customer dimension. And there we're seeing a bit of a preview of that customer master. Over here we have dimensions, in this section properties and measures. Let's go ahead and build this design. And once it's finished building, let's open it up. Okay, so now looking at our data, we can see transactions are coming through. We can see against, for example, the customer, the various properties that we can bring in. Sales rep, product. Also bring in a few different measures. Value, cost, quantity, profit are the typical ones. Okay, now let's move on to customization. So for example, you might want to see a particular property of a customer. Let's say you just want to see customers that have a status of active. Well, we don't have a property in here. How do we do that? Let's move back to MYOB and I'll show you. Again, going back to the generic inquiry screen, that's system, customization, generic inquiry. Here I'm going to search for my PH customer. Okay, so here we have the out-of-the-box customer generic inquiry. I want to add a custom field, so to do that, I'm going to the results grid and I'm adding a row. I want to select the status field. I'm going to give it a name. And make sure it's visible. Okay. Now we're ready to re-import this data. Clicking Save. Let's jump back into Phocas. All right, we're back in Phocas now in the DB Designer. I'm looking at the customer dimension, and we now see the unmapped new field customer status that we just added. And I'll add that as a property. Let's build it. Okay, now we've rebuilt it. I'm just going to look at the customer ship to dimension. And here we can now see our new property that we just brought in, customer status. Okay, so there we go. That's an example of a simple customization, adding a property to a dimension, which is fairly straightforward and easy to achieve. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how you can embed Phocas inside MYOB so that you can have a seamless experience between MYOB and Phocas data. First thing to do is click on the Organisation tab and Company Dashboards. We're going to use the Sales Manager dashboard for this demo. Once there, click the Design button on the right and add a new widget. We're going to use an embedded page. And click Next. The source here I've copied from my Phocas website. We'll give it a caption, we'll call it Phocas Sales. And finish. You can resize that to fit your screen. Next, I'm going to show you how we can link some of these dimensions inside of our MYOB. So for example, customer, we want to link to your MYOB customer details. We do this with this link here. I'll save that and build it. Now, when we select customer ship to, we'll see this hyperlink in a different color. And let's see what happens when we click on chocolate, something good. It's opened up MYOB and it should open up to the customer detail screen. Nice. Now, if you combine that with the company dashboard that we created earlier, so here we can see kind of a seamless experience going between MYOB and Phocas. Well, that's all from me today. Thank you very much for listening. I'd like to send out a special thank you to my technical assistants, to Mickey Young, Gabby Jabril and Ronaldo Villanelle, without which none of this would happen. Thanks again and see you around.